Intro: The power of no. He ruled an empire so vast that a single decision could change the fate of millions. Yet Marcus Aurelius understood something most of us forget. The hardest thing to govern is yourself. He learned the quiet strength of a single word, no. Not the angry no that shuts people out, but the calm, centered no that protects your peace. In his world, filled with politics, temptations, and endless demands, saying no was not rebellion. It was mastery. Marcus knew that every yes we give without intention steals a piece of our time, our focus, our soul. He wrote, "If you want to be strong, learn to live like a man who has nothing to lose." And sometimes, that means losing the need to please everyone. Think about your own life. How many times have you said yes just to avoid guilt, conflict, or rejection? How many times have you crossed your own boundaries to keep the peace, only to end up feeling empty, used, or unseen? The Stoics believed freedom wasn't found in doing everything, but in choosing what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius didn't become unshakable by adding more to his life. He became unshakable by subtracting what didn't serve him. He built invisible walls, not to keep people out, but to keep his principles in. Because no isn't the end of something. It's the beginning of self-respect. So before we explore the Stoic boundaries that made Marcus so steady, remember this. The next time you say no, you might not be rejecting others. You might be returning to yourself. If you find meaning in this kind of reflection, subscribe to Legacy of Thinkers, where ancient wisdom meets the modern soul. Because the more you understand the art of saying no, the closer you get to peace that no one can take away. 1. No to distraction. Guarding the gate of the mind. Marcus Aurelius began every morning with a battle, not against enemies or rivals, but against the noise of his own empire. Before he faced senators, soldiers, and citizens, he faced himself. His journal, Meditations, wasn't a record of victories, but reminders, quiet commands to stay awake in a world that never stopped shouting. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." For Marcus, the mind was a fortress, and like any fortress, it could be conquered, not by armies, but by distraction. He refused to let gossip, rumors, or the endless chatter of the court break through his inner walls. He understood that attention is the most valuable currency in the world. Once you spend it, you never get it back. He didn't check for approval. He didn't scroll through the opinions of others. He didn't need to be everywhere, because he was fully here. When the world tried to pull him apart, he came back to the silence inside his own head. The Stoics called it prohairesis, the disciplined choice of where to direct your mind. Marcus practiced it daily, when to think, what to allow in, and what to shut out. He was, in essence, the gatekeeper of his own peace. Now imagine how this applies to you. Your phone buzzes, messages pile up, and the world screams for your reaction. But the Stoic lesson is timeless. If you don't guard your attention, the world will use it for you. Each no you say to distraction becomes a yes to presence. Each time you choose focus over noise, you reclaim a piece of your mind. Marcus didn't find peace by escaping the chaos. He found it by mastering what entered through the gates of his own thoughts. 2. No to ego. Choosing principle over popularity. Marcus Aurelius sat on a golden throne, but he never let the throne sit inside him. He ruled an empire, yet refused to be ruled by his ego. In a world that worshipped titles, flattery, and applause, he practiced something far rarer: humility. He wrote, "Soon you will have forgotten everything, and everyone will have forgotten you." It sounds harsh, but it's freedom in disguise. Because once you stop chasing recognition, you start chasing truth. Marcus didn't need to be adored, he needed to be aligned. Aligned with justice, wisdom, and self-control, the Stoic virtues that mattered more than any crown. Every day, he faced people who praised him, lied to him, or tried to use him. But instead of feeding his pride, he treated each moment as a test. Could he stay steady while being celebrated? Could he remain calm while being criticized? He knew that ego doesn't just whisper in moments of victory. It shouts when you're being admired. The Stoics warned, the need to be liked is the most dangerous addiction. It makes us betray our values to protect our image. Marcus chose a different path. He said no to popularity so he could say yes to principle. He led with virtue, not vanity. And because of that, his power didn't come from his throne, it came from his character. He understood something we still struggle with today. You can't serve truth and ego at the same time. One demands honesty, the other demands attention. One leads to peace, the other to exhaustion. To live like Marcus is to practice quiet confidence. Not proving, not performing, just being true to what's right, even when no one applauds. 3. No to toxic influence, the Stoic circle. Marcus Aurelius understood that peace wasn't just about solitude, it was about selective company. He knew that the people around you either steady your mind or poison it. In meditations, he reminded himself every morning, "Today I shall meet people who are selfish, ungrateful, deceitful, arrogant." He didn't write this to complain, he wrote it to prepare his soul. He realized something profound. You can't control who crosses your path, but you can control who gets to stay. He didn't let the bitterness of others infect his calm, nor did he let flattery blind him to truth. Marcus kept his circle small, but filled it with people who sharpened his virtue instead of dulling it. He admired men like Rusticus, who corrected him when he strayed. He valued mentors who told him what he needed to hear, not what he wanted to hear. The Stoics believed that iron sharpens iron, and that weakness grows fastest in the company of the careless. Marcus didn't cut people off with anger. He simply stopped giving energy to what drained his soul. He practiced what the Stoics called apatheia. Not apathy, but emotional discipline. The strength to stay kind without becoming a doormat. The grace to remain calm without becoming cold. His peace was not built on isolation, but on intention. He chose who entered the fortress of his mind as carefully as a guard chooses who enters the palace gates. Because he knew that one toxic voice can drown out 1,000 wise ones, and one unexamined friendship can undo years of inner work. Marcus's lesson still echoes today. Protect your circle, and you protect your character. Choose your company as carefully as you choose your thoughts, for both will shape the life you live. 4. No to the endless chase, accepting enough. Marcus Aurelius lived surrounded by luxury, marble halls, golden armor, endless servants ready to obey. Yet, he knew that comfort could be the most seductive chain of all. He wrote, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." He understood that the pursuit of more never ends, it only changes shape. Today we chase success, followers, money, or validation. In Rome, they chased status, land, and legacy. Different objects, same hunger. Marcus saw through the illusion early. When desire becomes endless, peace becomes impossible. He said no to the chase, not because he lacked ambition, but because he refused to be enslaved by it. The Stoics taught that freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's wanting less of what doesn't matter. Marcus practiced gratitude in the middle of abundance. He reminded himself that the man who needs less is richer than the man who owns everything. While others fought to climb higher, he looked inward, because true elevation is not a rise in power, but a rise in perspective. He asked himself each night, what did I give today that I could have kept? What did I take that I did not need? These weren't words of guilt, but of guidance. A daily recalibration of what enough truly means. Saying no to the endless chase isn't about giving up dreams. It's about giving up delusion, the belief that fulfillment lies somewhere beyond the present moment. Marcus found that when you stop running after everything, you finally have space to feel something, stillness. And in that stillness, he discovered the kind of wealth no empire could buy: contentment, clarity, and a soul that no longer needed more to feel complete. Outro: the courage to be still. In the end, Marcus Aurelius' boundaries were never about keeping the world away. They were about keeping his values close. He didn't build walls to isolate himself. He built them to protect what was sacred: his clarity, his peace, his integrity. Every no he spoke was really a deeper yes. A yes to focus instead of noise. A yes to truth instead of ego. A yes to peace instead of chaos. That's what made him unshakable. Not the empire he ruled, but the empire he ruled within himself. And maybe that's what we're missing today. We fill our schedules, our screens, our minds, and call it living. But strength isn't measured by how much we do. It's measured by how deeply we can pause. It takes courage to be still in a world addicted to motion. To be calm when others chase validation. To be silent when others shout. The Stoics taught that wisdom doesn't shout. It whispers, and only those who are still enough can hear it. So before you go back into the noise, take one breath. Ask yourself, what is one thing I no longer need to chase? Because that's where your peace begins. If this message resonated with you, leave a comment below. Tell us what you're learning to say no to. Your story might be the light someone else needs today. And if you believe that ancient wisdom still speaks to modern hearts, then like this video, share it with someone who's always rushing, and subscribe to Legacy of Thinkers. Here, we slow down to think deeply, to see clearly, and to live with purpose, just as Marcus Aurelius once did.